How are y'all doing on this wonderful Wednesday? I hope that you guys are doing great. I really, really and truly do. And I hope that you guys know that I absolutely love you guys and that I am actually so proud of myself right now. And I know y'all are like, Lord, she starting the episode off with her tuna on horn. But nonetheless, y'all, what's up? Welcome back to Wonderful Wednesday. I am your host. My name is Danielle Bailey, and welcome back to Southern Therapy Podcast. Southern Therapy Podcast is a podcast where we just come and we talk about some of the latest things, some of the latest and the greatest things that's been going on. And truth be told, sometimes I use this podcast as a form of therapy for myself, where I can just come, be myself, just talk to you guys, and hope that that if you guys are going through some of these things and like how I made it over, hope that it can help somebody along the way. That's all I'm really looking forward to. Like, it's not about this podcast is not about me necessarily per se, but it is to help others. But nonetheless, y'all, we are going into, it is January. Y'all, the month has flown by. Like, we are in the last few days of January. Today is January the 29th. Wow, like, really, wow. February is going to start this weekend. I was going to say next week, but no, this weekend. So like, hey, things are going fast. Things are happening in the world. So I just really encourage you guys to live your life. And when I say that, I mean it. Live your life to the best of your abilities, y'all. Because truthfully, one day you're here, and sometimes the end of the day you're gone. Today is January the 29th, 2020, and the world has been at a standstill. And it has been like a somber cloud over the world. And the reason why I keep saying today's date, because we all know that on Sunday, January 26th, Kobe Bryant was killed, died in a, not necessarily killed, but he died in a horrible helicopter accident, along with him, his daughter, and 7 other people. And it has just been wow. And not only did that happen, but for me personally, my family has actually been going through to where we actually had a death on January the 10th. Then we turned back around and had another death within my family on January the 25th. So I myself have just been dealing with grief and things of that nature. And truth be told, like, I'm recording this podcast on Tuesday. And many of you know, I try to record my podcast on Mondays. Mondays evening, and sometimes it'd be late Monday night, but it'd be Mondays. So I recorded a podcast this Monday, but it was, I had to record it back over. It was all over the place. It was just too much. It was extremely sad. I still actually have it in my garage band. That's what I record my podcast at. I may put it out. I'm not sure. I may put it out another day, but I just want to keep it because it's my very, very raw emotions. And like, I did not have time to really necessarily process what was going on. And so Monday night is kind of like when I really processed what has transpired with my family. So I'll talk about it a little bit, but so we'll just go ahead and jump into today's episode. The title of today's episode is grief. And knowing when to grieve. Well, not necessarily knowing when to grieve, but how to grieve. Not necessarily how to grieve, but if you want to say it like y'all, but just to grieve. You know, a lot of times when people die, we have this mentality. Oh, you got to be strong. You need to be strong. No, I don't have to be strong for nobody. I need to grieve. I need time to myself to grieve the loss of a loved one. Or either, maybe better yet, like a lot of people have been talking about the whole Kobe Bryant thing. And like a lot of people are grieving the loss of Kobe. And a lot of people don't even know him, but still grieving the loss of Kobe Bryant, still grieving the loss of, all the other victims that was on the plane too. And like, it's just such a traumatic event to where it has really literally stopped the world, if you want to say, and like has shifted the way that we're feeling, the way that we're thinking. Like a lot of stuff like social media has been on fire and lit, pictures of Kobe, like all of this stuff, like recapping. Like I have myself have had to get off of social media for a little bit, simply because of the fact is that it has been too much for me. Like I said, I've been dealing with my own grief for a little minute, and I'm so grateful that because like I said, my cousin died on January the 10th. We buried him on January the 25th. Then, as we were going through with him, my uncle, my cousin's dad, and my cousin's dad, he took a turn for the worst and ended up passing. So, and even though he was married into our family, like in our family, once you become family, no matter if you're married into the family or not, like you're still family. And so he was still family. And like I grieve the loss of that, because like I see how it is, affecting my cousins. Like they were super duper close to their dad. And so it's just a hard time seeing them, like the crying, and just it was just a hard thing. And so I went, like I was busy this weekend. I went down to New Orleans to go and see him, and on Saturday he ended up passing. So it's been a lot. Okay, we Saturday, Friday. I'm tell you. So Friday we went to New Orleans, and then Saturday we ended up driving back to Alexandria on Friday. Saturday morning we got up to go to my cousin's funeral in Shreveport. Then later on Saturday night, my uncle passed, and but before he passed, we were throwing my mom a celebration a party, a surprise birthday party, because she turned 60. And I know y'all are like, Danielle, how could y'all do that? Like in the midst of what y'all got going on. I pushed for my mom's birthday party, even though we did not expect tragedy. When I started planning this, I did not expect tragedy. I did not expect my uncle to pass away. I did not expect my cousin to pass away. But at the same time, we needed to celebrate my mom, because no female in our family, like besides my great grandmother, no female in my family have lived past 45. My mom's sisters all passed away before they were 46. So for my mom to see 60 in itself is something that we need to celebrate. We need to give thanks to God for this, because she's a miracle. No other female in the family has made it past 46, 47. And my mom is walking around here at 60. And even her sisters are getting up there in age too. So it's just such a blessing. Although it was a sad day, it also was a blessing. So it also was bittersweet. So like we had all of that going on. So last week I went to a funeral. This coming up last weekend I went to a funeral. This coming up weekend I have to go back to another funeral. And this funeral is going to be difficult because it's my first cousins, and I know their dad. Like I just saw him a couple of weeks ago and he called me fat girl. He was like, "Fat girl, come here, fat girl, get in, fat girl," and all of that. So we have a relationship. And him and my dad was close because they were married to sister kids. I mean, not sister kids. They was married to sisters. Lord have mercy. They were married to sisters. So, and both of them are mechanics. So, like, they were really, really close. And so, my dad, he was. I'm not sure how he was taking it, but I know my. I'm not gonna say I'm not sure. Like, when he found out, like, I wasn't in town. And so he ended up calling my mom and really like talking to my mom and stuff like that about it. And sometimes my dad doesn't share stuff like that with us. He'll share it with my mom. So, even though they're not even together anymore, but just a lot has been going on with my family and grief. And so I would say, Monday is when I really did have time to finally sit down and grieve. And so that's why I think the podcast was so heavy. It was like, I'm really talking it out. I'm really dealing with the fact of what's been going on. Like, I'm no longer am I the supportive, wanting to be there to support people, having to support my cousins, because like at my cousin's funeral, one of my other cousins who were really, really close to my cousin that had died, because they grew up together. They were older than me by, like, I think they're like 15 years older than me. And so, like, they grew up together, and so they grew up as like brothers and sisters. So she took it really hard, and so, like, you're having to be there to comfort her, and so it's just like you didn't have time to really grieve yourself. I didn't have time to really grieve myself. So, Monday I was at training, and I really was just by myself. And I'm so glad that I end up having to go to training Monday. And it was one of the things about training, it was a trauma focused training. So it was really good. I'm not sure, like, if it was more personal, like, y'all, I was just like, when the lady was talking and when she was talking about, the trauma and stuff like that the kids go through, child, I was applying some of this stuff to my life. Like, it wasn't even about the training. It was more so me being able to heal and use some of the information. And so Monday, I just came back to my room, and while I was recording the podcast, it just flowed out, and it just sounds like, like I was rambling. Okay. And so we even talked about, in training on Monday, the trauma focused training, we end up talking about the whole Kobe Bryant thing, because of the simple facts there was the headline of the news and stuff like that. And so just I needed that time to myself to grieve. And I needed to grieve in an appropriate manner. Not necessarily appropriate manner, but just, well, yeah, I would say appropriate manner, because a lot of times people don't like to grieve. I just needed to grieve in the way that was appropriate for me. And so and really for me to grieve is really to talk about it, and just pray. So I did. I talked about it, even though I talked about it just to, my microphone, but I got it out. So, y'all, that's what I highly encourage you guys to do. I highly encourage you guys to grieve, and grieve. Like, don't really grieve. And really, if you have to cry, cry. If you need to draw, like, grieving is not the same for everybody. It's not. And that's okay. Whatever it is for you, whatever it takes for you to grieve, grieve. Just do it in an appropriate manner. Now, don't go out here, because sometimes people like to, sometimes when people are hurting, they can go out here, they can go and sleep with everybody, have like these whole sexual behaviors and stuff that is not appropriate. Like, don't go do that. Okay? Just don't go do that. Go be with amongst family. That's another thing that we can do. We can be amongst family. We can, have friends, talk to friends. If you need to go and lay on somebody's pillow and just, or be around people and just cry if you have to. Write your feelings out. That's a good way if you don't really have anybody to talk to. Write your feelings out. Go and just sit in the mirror. Or if you have to go into a dark room, into the dark closet. Like sometimes I would do that. I would go into my closet, just close the door, and like cry if I have to. Or either I'll just sit in the dark, cry, pray, do whatever I need to do to get it out. And sometimes for me, my grieving process is like if I need to cry because I have a problem with being vulnerable. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, even though I'm a therapist and I tell people, oh, you need to be vulnerable. But like sometimes I have a problem with being vulnerable. And it is not necessarily like, oh, I don't want to tell you my business, but it's sometimes I feel like if you don't create a space for me to be vulnerable, I won't. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is like if I don't have your undivided attention, I can't be vulnerable with you. So if you got your kids running in the background and like you got this going on, you talking to this, you got the TV on, like I just feel like you're not giving me your undivided attention. And although I want to talk to you and although I want to be vulnerable with you, I won't, because you can get easily distracted and then I just feel like you're not listening to me. So like I said, I have a problem with being vulnerable, but if you created the atmosphere to where I know that you are paying attention and I know that what I'm saying you're interested in it, I will. But other than that, I probably won't. And a lot of times I don't be vulnerable with people. The only person I'm really vulnerable with sometimes, and I would say, I would even say that sometimes is with God. And like recently I have been checking myself like, Danielle, he already know. You just need to tell him. You just need to have it come out your mouth. But then sometimes I don't want to hear what I have come out my mouth, because now when I say it, it's like more of reality about how I'm feeling, you know? But I still say it. And so like, and sometimes it's just in a dark room in my closet, me praying to God, me crying, or either if it's not me crying in my room, like depending on where I'm at, I'll go hop in the car, go somewhere to like a park or something where I'm out of sight, where can't nobody see me. I'll cry, and depending on if I'm like I have to do it in a personal place. So like if I'll come up to my office, if nobody is here, if I know like nobody's here, and I'll cry, I'll pray, I'll stretch out on my I'll stretch out on the floor in my office before the Lord. Now I done that several times where I'll just, just like if I need to worship God, I will stretch out in my office in a minute, child, and pray. Get on the floor, get on my knees and pray, and stuff like that. So y'all, I'm really encouraging you guys to grieve. And even the whole Kobe Bryant situation, although you don't know Kobe Bryant personally, don't make people make you feel like you can't grieve, or you shouldn't do it. You didn't even know Kobe. No, there is a thing such as secondary trauma, and where you can grieve the loss, where you have lost, where somebody like a public figure or like a celebrity, like they died, and expect it, especially unexpected and in such a tragic way as Kobe did. Like that affected a lot of people. And like some of the things that Kobe brought people great joy, you know. I mean, and so like Kobe Bryant was a part of a lot of people's lives that he didn't even know, and so to them, they lost somebody who they valued. And when you lose somebody who you value, who you hold close, near and dear to your heart, you're going to cry, you're going to grieve the loss of them. So it's perfectly fine to do that, and don't allow people to make you feel any different. So, but something that I did want to talk to you guys about is the 5 stages of grief. you know so there is such a thing as called as the 5 stages of grief. And you can I just want to give them to you guys, and I want you to think about them and apply it to and figure out where you're at in the 5 stages. Whether you're grieving the loss of Kobe Bryant, or whether you're just still grieving the loss of a loved one. you know so the 5 stages of grief, Also, so what grief is? So let me give you the definition of grief. What grief is deep sorrow, especially that's caused by someone's death. So if you're experiencing deep sorrow because Kobe Bryant has died, you're experiencing grief, and that's perfectly fine. So, the 5 stages of grief is denial. A lot of times we like to think, oh no, it didn't happen, it didn't happen, it didn't happen. No, I'm not gonna believe. I'm not gonna believe that such and such died. I'm not gonna believe that. I can't. I just can't because it's an initial shock to you, and you're trying to protect yourself. So sometimes we go into the denial phase, and then we got two. The second one is anger. Now like you're upset. You are you're just upset. You're mad, and you're angry. And then you have the bargaining phase. So like the bargaining phase could be like when if the person isn't died, if the person haven't died yet, you'll be praying, and you'll be like, God, please, please. So you'll start bargaining with God. God, could if you keep him here longer, I'll do X, Y, and Z. I'll be a better Christian. I'll be this. I'll pray more. I'll go to church. So now you're bargaining with God. And so sometimes when that person does die, it'll go back to you being angry. You sometimes can be angry with God, because God, I prayed to you and you still let them die. God, I really took this to you, but you still let them die. So then you have the depression phase, where it's just a deep depression. And then after the depression phase, then we start moving into the acceptance phase, where it's not the phase where it doesn't mean that you're like, okay. You're just accepting the fact that they're gone. And once we get to a complete acceptance, that's when we start moving on. And it's not like you forgot about that person. You're just accepting that life will be different, and that you may always, I don't think that you may always, but sometimes I would say always, that you will have this little ache in your heart for that person. But you're accepting it, and you're able to move on. You're able to keep on continuing with life. Like you're not allowing that to just beat you down. You've accepted it, and sometimes you've accepted it, and you're doing what that person wants you to live. That person wanted you to live on, so you're living on. But you still will have that little ache in your heart for like days on their anniversary day or their birthday, the anniversary date of their death, their birthdays or their favorite holidays. Like you still will have that little ache, that little pain, but you'll be okay. You'll start making it through. That's the acceptance phase. So, and a lot of times you bounce back and forth between the phases. It's fine, So, yeah, those are the 5 stages of grief, you guys. I hope that this has helped somebody. And y'all know that, hey, I love y'all. I'm going to go ahead and end this podcast on this note today. Y'all, please take care of yourself. But before I go, let me see. I wanted to share something that who posted this? Therapy for Black Girls. She had posted, what did she post? She had posted some tips. So I really want to share this with you guys. Some self-care tips for when the news is difficult. So she talked about, unplug from social media and stuff like that. Unplug from social media. Right now, really, if you cannot handle the passing of Kobe Bryant and things are just, too hard, unplug. Like don't look at social media so much. If your children is on social media, filter what they look at. Just really, I would say, really unplug and just be by yourself. Allow all of this to die down some, so that you don't continue to see Kobe back on your time feed, because that's all everybody is talking about. And better yet, if you don't want to see the plane crash, because now people have posted the plane crash on Facebook. I did not want to see it. And so I was skipping over videos that would say that this is the plane crash. However, I got to this one video that looked like it was flying over the Grand Canyon, over mountains. and it didn't have anything posted. It did not say that this was the Kobe Bryant video. And like, so I'm like, I'm thinking, okay, it'll be a welcome surprise, me looking at somebody flying over the Grand Canyon or whatever, because it was just, I didn't know how the helicopter has actually went down. So I didn't know that at the time. And so as so I press play, and so like I see the plane, not the plane, but the helicopter, and I hear somebody, and I finally hear, like, on the next slide, the slide had said that this was the helicopter that Kobe Bryant was on. But I knew it when I seen the helicopter going down, and then I saw a big old, like, fire erupt, and I was like, damn, that's the video that I did not want to see. So, so unplug, unfilter from social media. Don't watch the news. Take some time away. Feel your feelings. Like I said earlier, feel them feelings. Do not allow them. Don't just push them away. Get support from friends, from family members. If you see a therapist, see if you can contact your therapist and stuff like that. And to remember that grief is complicated. And like I said earlier, like, grief, like I said, y'all can jump back and forth in between those stages, at any time. So, but nonetheless, y'all, that's all I got for y'all. Know that I love y'all. Make sure you tell your people that you love them, hold on to them, value you going home at night and you got there safely, because nowadays some people are never coming back. All right, y'all. Man, I love y'all. I will see y'all next week. Bye. Later. Holla, you guys. Thank y'all so much for listening to Southern Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle.